Well, Joes, you can't say I didn't warn you. In the video I made a while back about the downfall of YBA, I cited skins as a massive burden on the progress of YBA as a fighting game. And now, here we are. 4 months in the making, about 20 to 30 skins added, and 0 new stands. Talk about skins, this update was basically a reskin of the Halloween update. And somehow, after all this, I'm hopeful for the future of YBA and what it holds for us, maybe because if I'm wrong, we're entirely f***ed. Considering the update pattern of the past months, it'd be hard to believe that a new update is coming in the next month, right after an update like this. But I'm entirely sure of it. The next update, including Stone Free, will come in January, because if it doesn't, the game will go to ruins. Even Eclipse has lost his patience at this point, and I feel like that just goes to show how far Uzu has pushed it. Everybody in the YBA player base who has been playing because of its combat can probably relate to Eclipse right now, because it's been 4 months since the last meaningful update and 6 since the last stand. Let alone what? 14 months since the last game mode and 17 months since the last game mode if you don't include 2v2s, considering it's just 1v1s with 2 players. What that boils down to is, essentially, YBA has been devoid of new endgame content for the past 17 months. Everyone's pissed, and you won't have to go looking far to find that out. However, there is hope. Not to defend the devs or anything, but the update was a simple cash grab by Uzu, a run for the money of the countless children who just got their Christmas money or Christmas devices and who aren't in school anymore, meaning they have more time than ever to sit in a private server for 10 hours for fat Star Platinum or Star Platinum but capable of committing unspeakable war crimes. Nothing of relevance actually came out of the update, and of course that sucks ass on the surface level, but when you think about it, there is a silver lining to that. That means that Uzu's been working on something way bigger in the past few months. Optimistically speaking, since all the previous updates have been filler cash grabs, I believe Uzu has something planned for us, something that he's not going to bother leaking to the fanbase of Joes that just get their expectations way high and then start harassing Uzu and the mods for him to complete it. As for what that is, I can't do anything but speculate, really. My optimism is high, and I'm hoping I'm right, but I don't have any expectations, and I'm not going to be surprised if he quits Stone Free to add some horrible mechanic like traits into the game and make YBA even more grindy and RNG based. You can go either way at this point. As for which ways there are to go, well, I'll be discussing the most probable scenarios, how they'll happen, and what will come out of them. Without further ado, let's spread these cheeks wide open and dive straight in. Essentially, under this scenario, Uzu realizes, or has already realized, that it's impractical for YBA's longevity to continue focusing solely on skins. Looking at the fatal examples of A Bizarre Day, Project JoJo, Universal Time, Stan's Awakening, Stand Upright, and the ton of other horrible ABD copies on the platform, he's noticed a trend. Roblox JoJo games that are focused on skins or some sort of grindy RNG element always die or survive a very, very painful existence, like a patient with a terminal condition to shit from their mouths, gradually losing more and more players until they're left with a niche fanbase of JoJo-charged children. Uzu knows the weaknesses of a skin-based game model, and either he's been doing all these skin updates knowing this and has been working on something bigger in the background, or he's realized the falter of his actions by now. The outcome stays the same. We're probably still going to get more skins, but I believe it won't be nearly as disruptive as it currently is on the development of YBA. Instead, Uzu and the rest of the dev team will focus most of their effort on new content that will keep the community going in the long term. New stands like Stone Free spring up in January, and we get about 7 new stands in the new year, including another Part 6 stand or 2, a Part 8 stand or 2, Echoes X 1-3, and a miscellaneous stand from any parts of the anime like Emperor, or even CDR, or CD Over Heaven, which has been long hinted at by Uzuki. Probably one new spec, and most important of all, a new game mode or some sort of new endgame content. Best case scenario, we get the infinite prestige system that Paragon has been pushing. Any way this scenario goes, it will lead to long-term satisfaction in the player base of the game. Roblox is a game for children. There's absolutely no denying it. Roblox is built on safety for children and being a kid-friendly platform. It's practically the preschool of the video game world. If you try aiming a game at teenagers, young adults, and beyond, you'll start to see an issue in how far you can expand your player base on Roblox with such a business model. Ours, an incredibly good game on Roblox with no RNG gimmicks aimed at exploiting children, only had an active player base about 700 or 800 at its prime. Adopt Me, on the other hand, a game that only kids play and that is riddled with child exploitation gimmicks like trading shinies, RNG, microtransactions, and so on, reigns #1 on Roblox for the highest active player count to date, beating Jailbreak and all the other popular games senseless with a constant player base of at least 500,000 and counting at any given moment, extending the limits of Roblox servers themselves when updates come out, spiking at 2 million concurrent players at times. As for the validity of those player counts not being random bots, and I can't say for sure, and let's not get into that, but there's a point to be made here. As Moist Critical probably said best,
I guess this is just more of like a PSA to any hopeful game devs if you want to just start making money on Roblox. You can make anything. Kids will watch and play anything, even if it's the most dog shit thing ever. Because kids are entertained by anything. So you don't have to put that much effort into it. Just make a lot of them, and then I'm sure you'll make plenty of money doing that. Just keep churning shit out.
I mean, just look at simulators on Roblox. They're consistently the biggest games on the platform, and yet they're all just exact clones of each other with a reskin. Kids will play anything. Financially and practically speaking, Uzuki has zero reason whatsoever to keep putting any sort of effort into the game. He has a stable business model here, so to speak, not one of a long-lasting supporting community, but one of a daycare of children who are consistently stimulated by consistent additions of skins. It's free money for the smallest effort possible. Why even bother stopping? Under this scenario, we'll probably get stone free and maybe 1 or 2 other new stands next year to keep the slightest of hopes up for the combat-focused side of the community, but nothing major. No new endgame content, no balance changes, and no infinite prestige system. Tens of thousands of Joes will flock to alternatives, while the remaining elementary and middle schoolers give Uzu a steady flow of cash from nothing but skin grinding. The 1v1's game mode will be nothing but win traders, the 2v2's game mode will cease to have any players, and the SVR game mode will be easier to wipe than my ass after I go to the bathroom to take a shit only to let out a shit nugget or two. The secret techniques of YBA combat and the dedicated community of Joes will be lost in time, as eventually Uzu decides to change the game category from RPG to simulator. These are just the views of Uzu as you can imagine he could see his game and his audience. I believe the Adopt Me business model of Scenario 2 is actually also impractical financially, as shown by the examples in Scenario 1 with ABD and other RNG-based JoJo games. And the reason for that, why Adopt Me works and JoJo's stand grinders don't, is because of the limited audience. It's no secret that JoJo is an anime intended for mature audiences. Blood and gore spill about every 2 or 3 episodes, and we've gotten a good handful of incredibly questionable scenes to add on to them. Of course, children don't care, and that's why I've watched it, and many others have. And of course, there's a lot of children who just don't bother watching it and trade anyways. But it makes a lot more sense to pour time, effort, and money into a game based on an anime that you know and love, than to pour all that into some random fat purple fuck. There's a huge limiter in how far the game can grow with the Adopt Me business model, because there's only so many kids that have watched such a gory anime or even have access to it in the first place. JoJo's aimed at mature audiences, and as such there's a much larger pool of older JoJo fans to have in your player base than younger JoJo fans. As such, updating to support these audiences and their higher expectations rather than shitty skins is crucial for the longevity of the game. However, there is a point to be made about Roblox in its entirety being a kids game, because it is. It's very weird how the Roblox community, a group of children, and the JoJo community, a group of teenagers and adults, interact in the way they do, and yet they still do. In all honesty, I've never seen such an odd crossover to happen. You need to be old enough to take a liking to such a gruesome anime, and yet young enough to still be playing Roblox. It's not a stable community either, it's a niche, which brings me to why things are the way they are for Roblox JoJo. It was never meant to be. Looking at the bigger picture, the fault is only partially at the big players in the whole situation of toxicity and dry, laughably grindy games. It's not really the fault of Uzuki, of Kerr, or of devs of any of the Roblox JoJo games, or of the community. It's in the nature of the community existing that the fault lies. It's too niche to have a quality game being made for it. Why capitalize on the small percentage of the populace who watch JoJo and play Roblox? We can just make a game for the general video game community. There's so little devs who are willing to make that sacrifice that there's no competition in the community. I'm not talking about YBA versus AUT, they're barely even comparable, and if you really insist on comparing, they both have their massive flaws rooted in frequency of updates, excessive grinding, and lack of endgame content. YBA has a monopoly on the Roblox JoJo community. It has no incentive to change its ways just because there isn't another game to drive them to do so. Looking at a bigger picture at JoJo games as a whole, all of the official games have no replayability, and we can't get any fan games because of the nature of copyright and licensing. Roblox is a safe haven for copyrighted works to be used freely and for profit, but that'll change pretty soon whenever Viz Media catches up with the times. All this is to say, Roblox JoJo faces the issues that it faces not only because of Uzu and the conditions he faces, but also the nature of Roblox and JoJo itself. And, all that said, this places a massive limit on what can actually be done about any of the problems. The effortlessness of the updates can be fixed, but in some aspects, keeping it going like this is easier and gives a similar or better income stream. All this is to say that everybody in the community is, long-term speaking, fucked. Well, unless Uzu takes scenario 1. It's a coin flip at this point. Either Uzu gets bored of writing in skins, takes pity on us, takes the game seriously, and focuses back on the combat, or he continues on the skin route. Considering how there's no other Roblox JoJo games coming out in the foreseeable future that can fix this cycle of grinding and pain, YBA is basically Roblox JoJo's final hope. And if he fails to deliver, which I give a 50% chance, the Roblox JoJo community is over. With all the underlying issues, it's not hard to see why. Thanks for watching. I hate to break the mood with self-plugs, but the YouTube algorithm seethes if I don't do this, so make sure you subscribe, like the video if you haven't already, join the Discord to trade and for exclusive other shit, and become a channel member if you like my content and want early access to it, among many other perks. Thank you to Phosphorus, Sates, Monkey Gaming, and Arislium for supporting my mediocre rants, and to everyone who clicked on this video for YBA Hope. All I can say is, good luck.